Hello, this is Rex White again with my success curve videos. This is step two, and we'll really quickly revisit what we talked about in step one, which was making a plan. I created a plan in 2019 to build an entrepreneur endeavor, to build a business, build an empire. It would have started in 2020 and will end in 2030. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to have a plan. And my plan included the curve that I have in the thumbnail. Pretty much the same curve you see is the one I created in 2019. In 2019, I didn't know what industry, what product or service I was going to sell. I just knew I was going to give myself 10 years to create something significant. And so the first thing we did was I created I wanted to have a product or service in the right industry. I discovered seafood distribution as the right industry. As we know, food is essential. As we know, everyone's going to always need food. Also, there's nobody who monopolizes the food industry on a localized level. If you got a good concept, you got an audience around you, tap into it. And if they buy, make them buy more, influence them, make it available, etc. So many ways you can iterate to have your audience continue to purchase your product. And so I decided on seafood business. It kind of found me. It was an idea a friend of mine came up with who was from Charleston, South Carolina. The friend said that no one is bringing live blue crabs to the Carolinas, specifically to Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I tested the idea. I created a post, and the post said, "Who wants live blue crabs delivered to their house?" And we're talking about Charlotte Metro. I boosted the post, I put it on Facebook, and to my surprise, 329 people came back and said, "I want live blue crabs delivered to my house." This is in 2020. There was a huge migration from people off of the Atlantic coastline, actually from Baltimore all the way down the Atlantic coastline to Florida, that was moving to Charlotte. So there was this nostalgic appeal to live blue crabs that I thought I could tap into. And so I created a website called livebluecrabdelivery.com. As the story goes, people started pre-ordering, which gave me some startup capital to invest in a live blue crabs. And from there, I used the money to invest in a refrigerated truck and into a building. All right, so all of this is just to prove out a concept. As I mentioned in the first video, you have to, when you start an entrepreneur endeavor, you also have to internally work on your why, or something that's big enough, important enough to you to keep you going through the process. This is important because most people who start off as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, they quit before the success comes. And success follows those who don't give up, those who work hard, learn, master, those who iterate, those who keep going in the right industry with a good product. As long as they keep showing up, the success will eventually catch up to their effort. So if your why is not big enough, if it's not significant enough, then most people fizzle out. And it's important for me to let you know, don't fizzle out. So have a why that's significant. For me, it was my children. I had gone through a really bad divorce, which I lost $1 million house, full access to my kids. So I decided to go into this business so that I can create something significant for them that would replace the time I didn't have or couldn't spend with them. So that was my why. And that's still my why to this day. All right, so let's get into the actual curve. All right, so first step is make a plan. Second step is the right idea. Right ideas in the right industry that gives you access to get in. You get access to get in, and you also have access to move inside of the right industry. Create your own niche, your own brand. And that's what you really want to do. Internally, you got a big enough why. Next step is you got to fortify your faith. And basically, what that means is nothing is built significantly without having faith, because you got to believe it's there before you see it. You got to be able to withstand people saying, I don't see it. And you got to be like, well, you don't have to see it because as long as I see it, doesn't matter if you see it or not. And so this is really, really important. I think the most important thing that we can do if we're starting something new is to make sure our faith is planted the right way so that when we have these challenges and obstacles, we rely on our faith and not other people's opinions. So fortifying faith is so important. Next up, after we have identified the right industry and we're proving out our concept. In other words, we're putting our product out there to be proven, to see if it's got credibility, to see if people want it and they want to come back for it and they would tell people about it. So much so we're making money without investing a lot of money. What we're doing is we're creating some income to invest to further see if it should be formalized. I'm a big advocate of not putting money into something unless it pays for itself first. And I can see where it's going to continue to pay for itself to help me if I got to put money into it to make it make more money over time. Internally, it requires falling in love with the process. And so during the proof of concept phase, you got to fall in love with the process because early on in any kind of business that you start out, you're not going to make a lot of money. It's not where you start spending money on you. It's where you start spending money on it so it can become something significant. And so falling in love with the process means just the mechanics, creating some best practices off of what you learn from yourself and how you sell, how you position your product, how you market it, how you talk about it, how you give it its own history, why you started the business is its own history. Why this business, right? I didn't come from seafood. I didn't come from a food industry. It's not a space that I ever thought I'd be in like this. But fortunately for me, my mother's Creole from New Orleans. So as you learn more about the story, you'll learn that I specialize in Cajun and Creole food. So I ended up in the seafood distribution industry, and then I was able to transition into Creole Cajun restaurants and seasonings and sauces and a cookbook and all these things because I have Creole in me. My mother's cooking set my taste buds on how food should taste. And so I took that and I paired it with seafood and said, oh shit, I can create something that's pretty special here. I'm in the right industry. I got the right abilities to move inside the industry because now I can create a niche inside of the industry and make my own name, my own brands, my own products. And so I started looking at all these things and I started falling in love with the process of creating my own menu items, recipes, and then creating my own brands and then being able to sell those brands. And all the while, I'm creating my own history to talk about how I started and why I'm in this space. I'm Creole. It would make sense, right? And so I think that it's important for these things to really walk themselves simultaneously. The right idea, right industry, and then take the right industry, prove out the concept internally, the right why, and then fortify your faith, and then fall in love with the process that you start to create for the product or service that you are proving out the concept. Hopefully, this is making some sense. Um, and so my industry is food. This can apply to any industry. Here's what's cool. When you start off as an entrepreneur, you're either selling a product or a service. Now, services don't require really any money at all. You just got to present the service and then figure out how to scale it. Products is a lot harder because you have costs associated with creating something and then selling something that you created. There's a whole lot of costs involved in creating a product business. They call it COGS, cost of goods sold. And so for our service people, you can nail it. You can go no money down and save yourself a ton of money. And so for my folks who are in the product business, You got to figure out how to sell something without having to spend a lot of money invested in it. That's why the food business is very difficult, because you got so many costs. And get this, the food business is probably one of the main industries that most businesses want a piece of your business. Like if you're in the food business as an operator, you're doing a lot of work, right? And so businesses want to get money off of all your hard work off your back. They want to get a lot of money off your back. And so I'm going to show you how to leverage, how to control costs, and how to squeak out as much money as you can in the food business in particular. But again, the things that I'm teaching will apply for any industry. So I'm gonna leave this video right here. It's step 2 of the success curve. I'm Rex White. I'm a Cajun Creole food entrepreneur. All things Creole Cajun is what I do. Stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching. Peace out for now.